the Jorginho factor, talk about just stuff like that, man. Talk about
Bro, no
Werner
one gives a
against
shit about
Barcelona.
Jorginho, bro.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about Jorginho, bro.
Jorginho controls the Chelsea tempo. Dude. He
Bro, he
scored.
was he was shit against West Brom, man. Single-handedly lost them the game. So if he has one of those games against Real Madrid, you're probably going to put six past them.
Yeah. So that's the point. Like I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, we can talk about that. If not,
Don't you talk about Jorginho of all people, man? He's
Why, bro? Why do I feel so much of
Mason
enmity,
Mount.
man?
Mason Mount. We can talk about Mason Mount. There's a lot to talk about that guy.
What is up, guys? Today we have a foursome. We have four of the people who we, well, love here at Sons of Pitches. We have Abhimanyu, we have Tridip, we have Satyajit, and we have Abhigyan. What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Hey, Abhimanyu, how are you doing, man?
hello.
Wow. Okay. So,
Really
so
spontaneous replies you got there.
Yeah.
moving on, guys. I can see we've all had a busy day. So today, the matter at hand is the first leg of the first semi-final of the UEFA Champions League, which is between Real Madrid and Chelsea. We have a Madrid supporter here who's Tridip. We have a Premier League supporter here who is Satyajit. We have a completely neutral guy who's Abhikan. I don't even know why he's here, man. Anyway,
Barca,
well,
how is
I'm
he
a,
in
Ba- I'm a Barca guy, man.
yeah,
Any
that's what. Why? Like, where are Barca? They're not even in the. Anyway. So
all right,
Tridip,
all right.
since you are a Madrid supporter,
Hey Abhimanyu, yeah, I'm very excited for the game that's coming up tomorrow. It's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be unlike anything we've faced so far. The Chelsea have had a great season so far, especially under Thomas Tuchel. They really picked up their play. They're doing well in attack and defensively they're a rock. I don't think they've conceded to the likes of City, United. Now, granted, United's not a big deal, but they haven't conceded to City, any of the top six, in fact, apparently. So Atletico Madrid either. So they're doing well, and yeah, I'm tense. I don't think with our problems in attack, I'm not too hopeful, but I think that we have history and experience on our side. So that sort of kept me going the past month or so, ever since I knew the tie was made.
yeah, that's right. Your team is having the time of their lives. They completely leapfrogged Barca. So Abhikan, what do you think about that, bro? What do you
I mean,
think of
see,
that
we
leapfrog
still,
jump just ahead of you?
see, we still have 6 games to go, and the top teams are barely separated by 2 to 3 points, right? And now it's 1 point. After yesterday's game, it's just 1 point. So it's still highly unpredictable. So unless it's like 3 games left or two
And
games, yeah, yeah,
Barca's got a game in hand. So Barca's got a game in
yeah.
hand,
Now that we've
so
got a game in
they can go
hand,
top.
and it's definitely not guaranteed that we might win it, but obviously as a person hoping for the best. So yeah, unless it's just 1 or 2 game weeks left, can't really say for sure. But yeah, it's really been a gift for us Barca fans. Both the Madrid's messed up the last game week, so that's kind of good.
Okay. That is just about enough Barca talk to have Abhikan sticking around for the rest of this episode. And since Barca are pretty much what will I say? Not in the situation. Let's move on to Satyajit, bro. What do you think of the fixture, man? What is on your mind? What do you think?
So I think Trevor pretty much summed it up reasonably well. He did mention Madrid's problems in scoring goals recently. I don't know if they have any goal threat other than Benzema and maybe Vinicius Jr. So that's an issue which they have to sort out. And as you know, Chelsea's defense has just been absolutely sublime lately with the likes of Rudiger, Azpilicueta, and Christensen, who have just, and as well as Thiago Silva, who's a former PSG player, getting in and playing like a real raw. I think it's going to be a tough game for Madrid to win. But like having said that, Chelsea themselves are not very good going forward. Granted, they have wins against I don't know Manchester City recently, but their attack severely lacks. I don't know if Werner or Havertz are good enough to get them over the line in a UCL semi-final, and that is going to make for an interesting dynamic heading into this match. So we had to wait and see.
Yeah, we saw Werner just got back on the books the other day against West Ham. So I've met a lot of Chelsea supporters who are, thinking that you called Werner a flop. See, he's performing now, but lad, it's just a goal. Let's see what he does, and let's see if he's able to help Chelsea in the current situation that they have. So moving on, what do you think of the starting lineups? Tridib, what do you think Madrid will start with? Who do you think they'll start with?
Well, first, let's just list out some of the absentees that we have for the Chelsea game, and then we can move from there. So, for tomorrow, Ferland Mendy misses out because he's got muscle overload, and I think he'll be back for the La Liga game on the weekend. But I think the Chelsea game comes too early for him. He's not training with the group yet, so he's not been included with the squad. So Ferland Mendy out. Ramos is back, and he's training individually out on the grass, which means he shouldn't be too far away, but the Chelsea game's too early for him as well. On top of that, we don't have Lucas Vasquez. He's obviously a long-term injury, and Eden Hazard's back. He made his comeback in La Liga a few couple of days back, and he was pretty good. So Eden Hazard's back. I don't expect him to start though. So my predictions for the starting lineup would be Courtois, and I'm gonna go with a surprise here. I think Zidane's gonna go with the three-man defense. So he goes with Varane, Nacho, and Militao in defense, with Cruz, Modric, Casemiro, and maybe Cruz, Modric. No, wait. I think he's gonna go with the four-man. Yeah. I think he's gonna go with the four-man just because the three-man midfield is available. So I think he goes Courtois, Carvajal, Militao, Varane. I think Nacho might just miss out. It's between Militao and Nacho, and you have Mars. No, you have Nacho on the left back position. He's playing out of position because Mendy's out. You have Cruz, Modric, Casemiro, the famed midfield, and you got Karim Benzema, Vinicius, and Marco Asensio on the right. I think it's early for Eden Hazard to start, especially because Zidane's going to take good care of him. I think he makes an appearance maybe in the 60th minute or so, and I'm looking forward to that. But I think that's about it for the starting lineup. I think that's what he's going to put out.
Well, yeah, dude. Madrid are lucky that Toni Kroos is finally back in the squad, and I'm really, really excited to see Eden Hazard play against Chelsea. I'm also excited to see if it gives him a burst of energy, a burst of motivation for the rest of his Madrid career, because facing your former team is often a very emotional thing for players. So I really, really want to see what effect it has on Eden Hazard. Anyway, moving on, Sato, what do you think Chelsea would start with? Who do you think they'd start with?
So from a Chelsea point of view, it's quite hard to predict what their starting 11 looks like because they're just such a stacked squad. Thomas Tuchel has frequently rotated his side. Against Porto, you've seen different team. Against Atletico, you may have seen a different team. So I think looking back at their recent games, I think some key names which will probably start are going to be Mason Mount. Mason Mount has been terrific under Thomas Tuchel. The defense of Rudiger, Azpilicueta, and Christensen also starts. So definitely, I think they will be the three starting. Although Thiago Silva can also play instead of any one of them. In the midfield, I think Jorginho and Conte are going to start. And as for the wing backs, it's probably going to be Ben Chilwell and Reece James. But this is where it gets hard to predict because if you're looking at the strike partnership, which is going to be the two up front, you're looking at any two of Werner, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, and Christian Pulisic. And seeing how Havertz and Ziyech didn't start the game against West Ham in the weekend, any one of them can come in and start, or maybe even both of them can start. I don't know. I think Werner's pace is going to be important in this. I think he can run into space well, and granted, his finishing has not been very good, but he's still been extremely. He still influenced the game in recent games. I think he's got 23 goals and assists this season. So yeah, I think that's going to be a lineup front two of Havertz and Werner.
So Sato, so tell me your prediction for the lineup once again. Just run through it real quick.
Mendy in goal, Christensen, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta as the back three. Ben Chilwell and Reece James on the wing backs. Then you have Jorginho and Conte in the midfield, double pivot. And I think the front three is going to be Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, and Timo Werner.
So you have a midfield pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic?
Kante.
Jorginho and Kante. Is Kovacic out?
I don't think he's out, but I think Kante offers that higher defensive stability, and Jorginho has been performing reasonably well. I think he can play, but I think it won't be daft to say Kovacic should start as well, given that he has played against many of these players in Real Madrid. He's a former Madrid player, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because, as I said earlier, Thomas Tuchel rotates his side so frequently. Sometimes it's hard to predict what he's gonna put out there.
So and in front of the midfield pivot, you have Mason Mount, Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, and
Any three of I think Mason Mount's 100% going to start, so he's a given.
yeah.
But the front two are probably going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be Havertz and Werner. But even Hakim Ziyech is a fair shout. If Christian Pulisic has been playing well recently, so I really can't say. But if I had to choose any two, I would probably choose Werner and Havertz.
So Reece James and Ben Chilwell on the as wing backs then, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I have a question, right? So from a Real Madrid point of view, uh, what the general psychology is that we tend to play well in the in the bigger games just because the teams we play against, they tend to give us a whole lot more space, and the midfield trio of Modric, Cruz, Casemiro, they just run haywire. Like they don't get that space in La Liga, and so with that extra space, they're like, whoa, this is incredible. And that's what makes the likes of Vinicius more effective in Champions League games than in La Liga, but just because in La Liga teams tend to drop very deep and they just respect us a lot, and then they try and hit us on the counter, and that's something that we struggled with a lot. And this is something that people who get really hyped up with Vinicius need to note, that in La Liga he's not as effective just because the teams play low blocks, and his speed and dribbling just doesn't come into effect there, right? You need more like intricate passing and incisiveness, which Vinicius is not really about. He tends to make more of an effect in these massive open games, right? So against Chelsea, one thing I'm worried about is that they actually do that. They drop back in a deep block and sort of absorb some of the pressure before hitting us with the speed of Ziyech, with the speed of Werner and Mason Mount, or maybe Pulisic, right? Uh, how do you and Abigan, I'm going to go to you first, right? How do you think Chelsea sets up to face this Real Madrid problem that we can't we can't break down low blocks? Do you think they're going to drop into a lower block, or do you think they're just going to play free flowing football like Liverpool did?
I'm mainly like, even though I'm a Barca fan, but I'm biased towards Madrid about this game because no one knows how to turn up during a Champions League night more than Madrid. And uh, Chelsea's competing against a team that has huge expectations. Not that Chelsea is not expected much to perform, but they've had two managers in one season, a lot of transfers, so obviously a lot is expected. But again, it's Madrid, and as Satos discussed before, only threat where they do lack is in the forward line. But if Benzema plays and if Vinicius is in the mood, I'm sure they can turn it up.
So Sarah, what do you think about the setup? How do you think Chelsea sets up?
So, from what I've seen, Chelsea throughout this season under Thomas Tuchel, they have always been a very defensive side. They always try to keep the ball up with themselves, use the passing of the likes of Jorginho or Kovacic or Conte, and try and create attacking opportunities using the pace of Werner, Pulisic, Havertz, and Mount, whoever is there. So I think you can expect that they're going to be a very defensive side. I think three at the back as it is, and five at the back with the two wing backs going back. It's going to be a five back formation pretty much. So it is going to be somewhat of a low block, which, as you had mentioned earlier, Madrid tend to struggle against. So yeah, it's going to be just one of those games I feel where Madrid have to keep trying to pile on the pressure and try to force a mistake, which is not entirely possible. We saw that West Brom put five past them at the bridge a few weeks ago, and teams have found a way to score against them. But I think ultimately it's going to be their defense, which is going to be the hardest thing to break down for Madrid. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't know, in the last three games Madrid have played in the league, they've only scored in one of those games, the other two ending in 0-0 draws. So I think that's an issue which Madrid are going to have to sort out, especially against this defensive rock of a Chelsea side.
Well,
Yeah,
what do you think of their attacking options? Do you think attacking wise there'd be a big problem for Real Madrid since they don't have the strongest 11 that they can put on the sheets? So what would you think? Do you think attacking wise Chelsea have a big threat, a big enough threat to be concerned?
I think they
well,
have.
well.
Sorry.
Oh, you want to take this one? You can go ahead.
Anybody go for it. Anybody go for it.
Now, I was just gonna say that they have some of some very creative players in Mason Mount, Hakim Ziyech if he plays, who can potentially play a pass which will break the Madrid defense. But Madrid's defense has actually been one of their strongest points this season. They've kept 3 clean sheets in their last 3 games. They have been quite good defensively with the likes of Thibaut Courtois, who's also a former Chelsea man, coming back to face his former team, as well as the likes of Varane, who I think is going to be available, and the other center back, whether it's Militao or Nacho, they've all stepped up and done really well, even without their leader
Agreed,
Ramos.
agreed, agreed,
So
agreed.
so yeah, it's going to be tough because Chelsea is also not a very prolific side. So I'm expecting a low scoring game between these two. I think it's going to be like a 1-0 or a 1-1 or a 2-1 type of game. I don't see any more goals than that.
Chudip, you want to come in here? You had something to say.
All right. So one thing I'm worried about Chelsea is that they're going to play a back five, and they're essentially going to drop back into a low block, and you're going to have the likes of Reece James and Ben Chilwell down the wings. Reece James is very good defensively, and he's very fast as well. So he might just neutralize our main threat in the likes of Vinicius. So that can be a massive problem unless we can sort of figure out a way to shift it to the wings and put some good crosses in with the likes of Carvajal, and I'm not expecting a lot from Nacho because he's not left-footed and he's going to be playing on the left wing. So I'm not expecting a lot from that wing. But if we can shift it out to the right and put good crosses in with the likes of Asensio and Carvajal, and Benzema can get on the end of a few of those, I think we have a good shot at it. But we have to be good with our defense in transition, and hope for the best, I guess. So, Abhigan, let me go to you with this one.
All
You,
right, all
you,
right.
you've had the misfortune of facing Real Madrid so many times in the past few years. Where do you think Chelsea can hurt us?
Well,
And
firstly, for the
keep in
past
mind that we
few
don't have Messi.
firstly for the past few years, it definitely wasn't a misfortune for us. But anyway, um, but yes, yeah. So yeah, Madrid's been hit with a lot of injuries, especially in the defense. But they even with so many injuries, they still worked out well, except for the last few games in the league. But I'm sure that was just due to fatigue. And Zidane's rested his best players for the Champions League, obviously, because for the Champions League, there's a lot at stake right now. So I think the defense is going to be absolutely fine. They have done so in the past few games, especially against Barca, where there were too many injuries in the defense again. So I hope they're fine, and they have one of the best mids right now in the world with Cruz, Modric, and Casemiro. So those three are going to be the defining factor of the game end of the day. And in the forward line, it's being headed by Benzema. And yeah, there's Vinicius too. He's been in form, but when it comes to consistency, that's why he doesn't shine too much. But it's tough to say about Vinicius. But yeah, Benzema, Big Benz, is going to be there once again to lead the Madrid front line. So yeah, and Courtois, he's a wall in the goal back at the post. So Chelsea's going to have a tough time with Warner in the front line too, given how much he tends to miss. Shouldn't be much of a
Yeah.
problem for Courtois anyway.
So one big talking point for this match is obviously the comeback of Eden Hazard and Thibaut Courtois. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think it's going to play into their minds a little bit? Do you think it's going to motivate them? How do you think it's going to play out?
I think it's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic that those two players are going to come back. I know Eden Hazard, when he left Chelsea, he left on good terms. I remember, he was smiling after the Europa League final, and he looked pretty. And I remember he posted a pretty nice message on Instagram or whatever after his transfer was confirmed. On the other hand, Thibaut Courtois' departure was not as smooth. There was a lot of angst behind it. I think he didn't come for training. It kind of was a forced move, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely going to be two players returning to their former club, but with two different, moods. And I think definitely that's going to be a big part. I think both of them will be motivated. I think both of them will be looking to bring their best against their former club. I mean, I think Courtois 100%. I mean, he even without the motivation, he's been outstanding for Real Madrid these past 2 seasons. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Hazard has been a bit of a start-stop, but if he can somehow put up a performance against Chelsea, I think he can get the motivation to continue on having a good run without injuries, hopefully.
As Sado mentioned, Koto hasn't really had one of the best history with Chelsea anyway, and plus he's played for Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, and now Real Madrid. So I don't think it's when it comes to emotions, it's much good to say about Courtois. But for Hazard, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big game, big night. So it's kind of emotional for him, and I'm sure he's definitely gonna turn up a notch for this game. It's against his former team, so there's a lot of emotions, a lot of going on there for Hazard. And given that they consider him as a legend over there, so yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's it. It would have been a different thing with fans in the stadium, but unfortunately we don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a problem. The Carabao Cup final yesterday, it had some fans in it, and I'd completely forgotten what it was like to have fans in there. And it was so nice. It was these fans who were singing and they were booing, and I don't think I'd ever missed the booing, but yeah, turns out I do.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
definitely we have
but
missed for a long time now.
yeah, but coming back to it, uh, one player who has been talked about a lot and definitely has the talent to back it up is Mason Mount, and he could have a lot to say in this game. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about him? How can he hurt us?
I think Mason Mount has shown that he's more than just a favorite for managers. Like people used to call him Lampard's son and Southgate's son and all those kinds of things. But I think lately he's been proving his worth. I think he's an outstanding player. He's been improving throughout the season, and I think for me he's been one of Chelsea's biggest threats attacking wise, and he also puts in the hustle defensively. So 100% you can expect him to create something, whether it's a pass or whether he can score a goal like he did against Porto, which was an absolutely it was a good goal. So definitely Mount is going to be one of the biggest threats for Real Madrid from a Madrid's defensive point of view.
Yeah. I've been watching that guy for a while now, and I just can't understand the criticism he gets. He's just so talented, and he's probably one of the most talented youngsters in the world right now. Not named Phil Foden, Kylian Mbappe, or Erling Haaland, right?
Yeah, it's
But
easy
yeah,
not to name the best players and then say he's one of the best.
yeah, he's one of the best, not the best. So, yeah, so Mason Mount is definitely one of the up and coming youngsters right now, not named Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, and Phil Foden. I think he's right up there, and he's got the talent to do his talking on the field. But yeah, I think that we've done a lot of analysis on this, and I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. But before we wrap it up, what do you guys think? Like, what do you think will be the result tomorrow? What are your predictions?
So if I can go, I'll probably say I'm gonna go with a. I don't think it's gonna be a very high scoring game, so I'm gonna go. Given that it's being played in Madrid's stadium, I think I'm gonna go with a 1-0 Real Madrid win with Karim Benzema scoring.
Abhi?
And as for me, I have a gut feeling Madrid might win this, but that's definitely not. You want to hear something from Barca fans, so yeah, I'm going to go with Chelsea 2-0.
Oof, big score, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Abhi, when you get your thing in, man.
2-1 to Madrid with Benzema scoring and maybe Vinicius on the scoreboard too.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a two 2-0 as well. I think I'm gonna go with Karim Benzema getting both for Real Madrid. And I don't think Chelsea score tomorrow. Hopefully. I don't think we give them an away goal though. So yeah.
Interesting episode, guys. And I think that's a good time to call it wraps.
His
So-
mom saw that.
Wow. Yeah, my mom saw that. Yeah, she did.
Dude, like I knew today was gonna be a long day. When Hannah started doing the podcast with the foursome, I was like, okay, that's it. I mean, right then, so at that place, like if this guy's heard it and you realize that, yeah, it's gonna be a long day.
Or yeah,
My mom did see that, bro. I'm talking to my mom and she's talking to me, and then I look back at the screen and I'm just seeing that. I'm like, okay.
Satos just had enough, man. He's like,
third,
gone, man.
keep this part in, man. We gotta.
Uh,
Okay.
On that note,
Wait, guys, just to give you context, Zohair just put up a picture of Lana Rhodes for whoever knows her, and Abhimanyu's mom turned Abhimanyu's
yeah,